Semifinals of the Pacific Coast Open will resume at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time, roughly about 4 minutes from now. And we're back at the Pacific Indoor Bowls Club for the semifinal of the Pacific Coast Open Bruce Matheson Open Singles. My name is Bill Curry, and we're here to bring you the semifinal between Jerome Kirby and Jim Aitken. And it should be a great semifinal. The Jerome Kirby from Winnipeg, Manitoba, up against Jim Aitken, who's from Stanley Park Lawn Bowling Club in Vancouver, BC. And we will have all the action for you as the players complete their trial ends, and after a few words from our sponsors.
The Pacific Coast Open is brought to you in part by the Matheson Family Foundation, a registered charity organization. Having donated more than $1 million to more than 250 charities and organizations, it's all about giving back to the community.
The Pacific Coast Open is funded in part by a Vancouver Community Sports Hosting Grant from the City of Vancouver and the Vancouver Board of Parks and Recreation. The Pacific Coast Open is funded in part by a hosting grant from Via Sport BC and the province of British Columbia.
The Pacific Coast Open is brought to you in part by World Financial Group. Let Derek Gann and Rachel Wong help build your wealth strategy. Your life insurance and financial service professionals.
And welcome back to the Pacific Indoor Bowls Club here in Vancouver, where Jerome Kirby and Jim Aitken are set to begin their semifinal to see who can go to the championship final of the Bruce Matheson Open Singles. And players right now currently finishing up their two-bowl trial ends. Jim Aitken has found himself in the semifinal after winning a knockout round match earlier this morning, and then in the quarterfinal, knocking out the defending the defending Pacific Coast Open Singles champion from 2024, Will Hall, in a thrilling extra ends. So quite exciting right now as we see this battle of Manitoba versus British Columbia. And meanwhile, on rink 6, we have the other semifinal happening, which we'll bring you up to date on as the afternoon progresses. Pat King from Calgary up against Joanna Cooper, also from Alberta. So it's a battle of Alberta, going toe to toe here in the other semifinal. My name is Bill Curry. I'll be bringing you all of the tournament action remaining for today. We've got, of course, the final match coming up at about roughly 3:30 this afternoon. So we are running just a tad behind schedule, but these players are pretty good at keeping things going. Jerome Kirby, of course, no stranger to this tournament, performed exceptionally well last year, and this year is just just one win away from making an appearance in the final. So Jerome bowling the red or kind of maroon color aerodynamics. Jim Aitken's bowls are quite interesting. He's bowling the brown Drake's Pride Professionals. They are a size 5 heavy and are certainly designed to move bowls out of the head. Kim Sawyer will be our marker for this match. Kim from North Vancouver Bowling Club and also well known on the Vancouver and District Circuit here in the Lower Mainland. So I'd like to take this moment to thank everyone for tuning in over the week. large numbers actually tuning into the Pacific Coast Open this year, far beyond our expectations anyway. So we're glad to have you aboard, and we expect this afternoon to be just just a treat of world class bowls. Jerome Kirby getting the festivities underway. Jerome coming to us from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And plays a long jack about roughly a meter in front of the front tee. And that is a lovely first bowl from Jerome to start off the day. Jim Aiken with his first bowl, as mentioned, from Stanley Park Lawn Bowling Club in Vancouver. No stranger to elite bowls, of course. Jim has been a fixture in national and provincial lawn bowls for many, many years, with many tournaments and titles to his resume. Jerome Kirby with his second bowl, half a yard behind the jack. We are scheduled for two 7-end sets. And the first player to win two sets or win and draw a set will advance to the final. And if the players are drawn at the end of two sets, they will play a 3-set extra end. And Jerome Kirby putting himself in a very good position here, looking to hold at least two, maybe three. Kim Sawyer having a look at the head to respond to Jim Aiken's question. Tells Jim Aiken that she believes it's only two at the moment. Jim coming in with that big weight that he's capable of and burns the jack. That jack will come back to the tee. So he makes the shot, but maybe doesn't get the result that he wants, as that ball will come to the 2-meter mark from the ditch. And that is currently surrounded by at least two and potentially all three of Jerome Kirby's bowls. Kirby with his final shot of this first end. And that's so nice. Just nudges the jack and has set up a big shot for Jim Aiken early on that as Jim goes to examine the head. Right off the top, Jerome Kirby putting his opponent under pressure. Not so much a lot of power behind this, but it's bending in. It's going to fall short, but looks to have taken away the potential of the big end that Jerome Kirby could have had in all of this. Kirby will win the end. It looks to be at least one, possibly two. And the players have settled it amongst themselves pretty quickly here. And we'll just see what Jamaican puts up on Jerome Kirby's side. As Kirby delivers the jack here for the second end, and it is indeed to Jerome Kirby. So nice start there for Jerome as he's able to put a couple of points on the board, but was also in a position to put send a message to Jamaican that he has the ability to set up and put you under pressure. This is looking better for Jim Aiken here, and that's a lovely draw, and will certainly challenge for first here. Kirby, little bit wide. And Jim with the toucher, but looks to have nudged it towards Kirby's bowl. And the two players will walk the length of the rink to have a look at the head before their final shots. So after Kirby's quick start in the first end of this first set, Jim Aiken has resumed the draw game that we're very familiar with. It's interesting, Jim fell behind in his first match against Will Hall in the quarterfinal earlier this morning, but was able to come back and win it in extra ends. Kirby's final bowl of the second end. Just gently touches up against his own bowl there. Maybe limiting the open entry point there for Jim. But there is still a gap to draw in there. And it has been a long week of bowls so far, with the Pacific Coast Open mixed pairs. Pat Bird and Serena Matthews walked away as the champions. Here's Jamaican's final bowl. A little bit of weight here. Going to try and move that bowl out of there. He does, and he may have done it here. Direct hit, and Jerome Kirby concedes the one. And if that's the type of end that we're seeing from here on in, we're in for a really good match here. So Jim Aiken pulls back one here in the second end. Going to have a quick look over at our other semifinal where Joanna Cooper is taking on Pat King, and Cooper has opened up a 2-0 lead in the third end. Kirby wasting no time with his first bowl. Kirby holding both first and second after his first two bowls. So Jim laying two in the back there. First one came up well short, which is something that he would need to draw around if he was going to try and move that jack back. And Kirby joins him in the back. Good coverage. And Aiken drawing in here, and he is going to go right to the jack, and that is class. So Jerome was setting himself up quite nicely for maybe a multiple point end, but Jim Aiken comes on strong here with his final bowl here in the third. And that is going to pose a dilemma for Jerome on his final bowl. This is Aiken's bowl in the back, and you see the two bowls here that both belong to Kirby, but this one is wedged right on the jack. Kirby's final bowl. It's on target and moves. Oh, gently moves Jim Aiken's bowl without even touching the jack. And this could be a two for Kirby. We'll see how the players tally it up. But just a masterclass of draw bowling here in the third end. So Aiken concedes the first one. They're going to have a look at this second one. Even from our camera angle, it looks pretty close, and both Kirby and Aiken agree on it. And so Jerome will add to his total. And once again, we just see he did get scored two in that set, so he opens up a 4-1 lead here in the first set over Jim Aiken here as we go into the fourth. Just excellent, entertaining bowls. Jack is right on the tee line. Ruby behind the jack. Once again, setting himself up nicely here in this end. Having a look at the other semifinal, Joanna Cooper has opened up a 4-0 lead over Pat Bird. They are in the fourth end. And Kirby settling in once again. Looking like he's holding three. And Aiken's coming with some speed on this one. Wants to wait, but doesn't seem too happy with the shot. And it's going to go right through the head. It'll hang on in the back, though. And Kirby coming around on that forehand, looking maybe to try and join Aiken in the back, but too much weight. So Jim Aitken looking at an open draw shot. Either an open draw, but also owns both bowls in the back, which opens an opportunity to maybe make up a little bit of space on the scoreboard. Be interesting to see how Jim approaches this. Final bowl of the fourth end, and it's coming with power. He's going to break some things up here. And it misses. And that is a big end for Jerome Kirby as he looks to have taken three. We'll wait and see what they decide on. Yeah. And they agree on three. So, you know, Jim, who's been around this game a long time, just looked at the shot, looked up at Jerome and said, that hurt. And they're just getting back to her. So 7-1 lead now for Jerome Kirby here in this first set. They are scheduled for 7 ends here in the first set. Like the both sets will be 7 ends, of course. They will wipe the slate clean at the end of this first set as well. So even if Jim is unable to come back in this match, he certainly has plenty of, or isn't able to come back in this set. There's plenty of time in the match for him to mount his comeback. Meanwhile, in our other semifinal, Pat Bird is on the board, now trailing Joanna Cooper 4-1 in the fifth end. Nice bump and roll there from Aitken. Kirby with his last bowl, knowing he's down two at the moment. And he's going to draw right in there and take shot. That's nice work from Jerome. That'll send Jim down to the other end to have a look. Jerome Kirby doing a good job executing on that final bowl where you say, well, it's an open draw, there's nothing there, but those are clutch shots that are more difficult to execute than to look at on paper, that's for sure. Final bowl of the fifth end. And it's all almost on target, but just misses Kirby's bowl at the side. And Jerome will add to his total here with another point, and he has an 8-1 lead after 5 ends here in this first set. So good effort by Jim. He knew exactly which bowl he wanted to move and how he wanted to move it. Just just needed a little bit more green. Jack is planted right on the tee. And Jamaican's first bowl will settle right behind it. And Aiken drawing in. It's a big hill to climb right now here in this first set, with only 2 ends remaining to try and make up those 7 points. But certainly wants to get his draw game in gear, try and build something as they go into the second set. Of course, Jim joined us in the broadcast booth here for the live stream during the on the first day of the mixed pairs tournament, and certainly shared a lot of his stories and his rich experiences and knowledge of the game. It was a joy to have here. Right now, Jim's looking at The two he is currently holding as Kirby goes back to deliver his last bowl at the sixth end. And Kirby's final bowl will drift a bit far. Now, Jim Aiken has an open draw here to try and land a third. And in fact, he must score 3 points in this end for the set to continue, as of course the math will not work out for a seventh end if he only lands two. Aiken's final bowl of the sixth end. This one's going to drift a bit far, and well, we'll see how they sort this one out. As I mentioned, gets a friendly flop at the end, which might make a difference. Jim needs to score three here in order for this set to continue. And they say that it's two, and while Jim Aitken takes the end, it's going to be Jerome Kirby who takes the set. And they will jump right into the second set of this semifinal with Jerome Kirby taking the first. Oh, really good first set despite the score. And we'll just fix that part up. It is not 7-0 in the second set. And Aiken raises Jerome Kirby's opening bowl up by the jack. Having a look at the other semifinal, Joanna Cooper is still up on Pat Bird, 5-1 in the sixth end of the first set. And Kirby is still holding one here in the opening end of this second set as Kirby rolls his final bowl. Pulls up a bit short. Jim's shot is a bit on target here. It will nudge the jack, but it won't be enough. And Kirby will carry this first end of the second set with a single point. So nice effort there by Aiken to try and move the jack, and those size 5 Drake's Pride bowls he has can certainly do the job, but really needed to hit it a bit more direct. And once again, those are the shots that are easier said than done. Players well short on their opening shots. Playing more of a 3/4 length on this one. Bit of a difference from what we've seen earlier throughout this match, where both players seem to prefer a longer jack. And this is better from Jim Aiken, and that will be good enough for shot. In the other semifinal, Joanna Cooper has captured the first set of her match against Pat Bird, and they are just starting the first end of the second set. And look at this from Jerome Kirby, matching Jim Aiken shot for shot. Oh, and look at that from Jim Aiken. Right in there, right behind the jack. Jim's question to the marker was how far in front was Jerome Kirby's bowl? And she said 6 inches, and Jim Aiken used every inch of that. What a shot. That gives Jerome Kirby much to think about as he approaches the mat for his final shot here of the second end. Nice smile on Jim's face as he has a nice chat with the marker. Kim Sawyer, our marker today. Kirby with his final bowl of the second end. He's going to go through all that traffic and he gets the wick. Wow. Masterful shot from Jerome Kirby. And that's got to be heartbreaking for Jim after Jim Aiken executed two excellent shots and Jerome Kirby just one shot better. Jim still has his final shot of the second end. And he will have to top that. Jim says he's concerned about the weight on this shot. It seems to have enough. He's going to nudge his own bull up there and off to the side, and it'll be one to Jerome Kirby. And that is as hard a single point as you will see in this game. So just an excellent shot on his final bowl for Jerome. And Jim tried his best to try and find a way in there and maybe raise his own bowl, but you know, in the end, just a bit too much on it. This is an excellent start to this second set. Pat Bird has won the first end of the second set of his semifinal. He's up 2-0 over Joanna Cooper. Pat needs to win this set in order to force extra ends. Once again, playing a more familiar length in this match. And Kirby's second shot promotes Jim a bit more towards the jack. Aitken landing one behind the jack. Good covering shot. Jerome inquiring just how far that bull is behind the jack. And this is a straight draw into the jack, rolls it towards Jim Aiken's bull. So it gets the toucher. And Jim asks permission to come up and view the head after only two bulls, and he is granted permission to do it. You know, it is awful close. No one's given indication at the moment as to who's holding in this situation, but the players know. They've had a good look at it. And Jim gets right down to business. This one's going to tuck itself in, pushes Kirby's bowl, and marker confirms that appears to confirm that it's Kirby who's holding. Actually, can't say that for sure because she raised a finger, and I'm not sure if it was Jim who asked the question or was it Jerome. So we shall see. Either way, that is a very close head. And Jerome has a final bowl. Last bowl for Jerome Kirby in the third end. Bit long. We'll hold the back at least. Jim Aiken now has an opportunity here. Try and pull back in this match. This Jerome Kirby bowl does stand in the way of him being able to perhaps get a multiple here. Let's see what Jim does here. Lots of weight. It's going after that bowl. He hits it and he burns the jack, and it will go to the tee. It will go to the tee line, and that may be advantageous for Jim Aiken here. They've got the one at least, and now the question is, how far is that back bowl compared to the one in front? The bowl in front is just inside the 1 meter mark. So Question is that back bowl of Jerome Kirby farther away? And they're going to score those two, and there could even be a third here for Jim. And this could be a big end that gets him back in this match altogether. So the players have measured and the players have decided. And we'll put the two up for Jim because we know that for sure. We'll wait till Jerome puts up the score to get confirmation. And indeed, it is two to Jim Aitken in that end. So we're all tied up here as we enter the fourth end of the second set. Jim needs a win here in the second set to force extra ends. And a lovely touch of the jack on his opening bowl. And Kirby almost taking the jack himself. Parks himself nicely behind. Less than half a yard. Kim Sawyer confirming that Kirby is indeed down one in this end. In the other semifinal, Joanna Cooper has pulled one end back. It is 2-1 for Pat Bird in the third end. Joanna Cooper took the first set of that match. So Pat Bird needing the win. And Kirby pulls up just short. May have cut Jim down, however. It appears he was holding two prior to that shot. This is looking good from Jim. And just the nice finish there, just towards the jack. And even Jerome Kirby had a little round of applause for that shot. Kirby down in this end. His final bowl. And a little bit too much on that. So it is, they're saying 3 to Jim Aiken in this, and that is a huge end for him as he pulls into a 5-2 lead over Jerome Kirby after 4 ends. So Jim needs a win in this set, and he has certainly made his fortune. He has done a lot to press that issue. The other semifinal, Joanna Cooper has won the third end, and Joanna and Pat Bird are tied at 2 apiece in the fourth. Just as we saw in Jim Aiken's big quarterfinal upset over Will Hall, he came on late in the second set and started to find his mojo. But Jerome Kirby, cool as a cucumber, takes away the shot. No one here is going away quietly. Parker believes Kirby is down 1 at the moment. And is definitely down 1 now. And I apologize. I did mess up that count in the last end. It is actually 5-2 to Jerome. Actually, it is the score that's incorrect at this point. Jerome Kirby with the final bowl here in the fourth. We will get clarification on the score. Jerome's final shot. So it was one to Jim Aitken, and I think we'll get a bit of clarity here as to what's happening on the scoreboard as well. So obviously, Jerome Kirby had the final bowl of that end, and yeah, they're going to fix things up here nicely. So it is actually 6-2 now for Jim Aitken, and I feel a little less foolish now. So we're entering the sixth end now of the second set. Jim has opened up the 6-2 lead, and he needs a win in order to drive extra ends here, and he's certainly well on his way. Jim has really come on strong here in the second set. And looking over at the other semifinal, Joanna Cooper has opened up a 4-2 lead over Pat Bird in the second set of that match. Joanna won the first one as well. And he pulls up just almost a meter short. Jim Aiken's bowl is going to pull up short as well here. Kirby with one at the moment, down by 4, with only 2 ends remaining. Well, actually, this is the 6th end, so it's really only 1 end remaining after this. Certainly would like to add a second to that total. And oh, he promotes Jim Aiken's bowl in the front, and Aitken will steal the point. And with that, takes the single point here in the sixth end, and that means that it is 7-2. There aren't enough bowls left for Jerome to come back in the final end. So now we are going to go straight to extra ends. So quite a comeback here by Jim Aitken here in the match. So we will play we will play best of 3 extra ends. The points don't matter in extra ends. You just need to win the end, and the first player to win 2 ends will punch their ticket to the championship final coming up later this afternoon. And this was precisely the scenario that Jim executed against the defending champion Will Hall earlier today in the quarterfinal. Coming back in the second end in that match, winning the extra ends against Will, and now finds himself up against another one of the big elite bowlers in this tournament in Jerome Kirby, and has put himself into a nice position here. Shorter jack to work with here. And a bit of applause for that opening bowl. Jim, of course, having the advantage of the home crowd behind him. Oh, look at this, though, from Jerome. Just brushes past, but maybe enough to hold here. Pat Bird has won the fifth end of the other semifinal. He now still trails Joanna Cooper 4-3, but Jim Aiken here is coming on strong here in the first extra end with a lovely shot. And Jerome Kirby looking to make some noise here with this shot, peels away the bowl in front of the jack and at least opens up a little bit of draw space for him. Both players will have a close look at this head prior to their final shots. It's Jim Aitken holding there with that brown bowl right on the jack. Both players with bowls in the back as well for coverage. Now, Jerome Kirby with his final shot of the first extra end. He's chasing it in. He's chasing it in, willing it in towards the jack, and wow. And Jerome has already called for the umpire. So this is a crucial measurement that will decide this first extra end. You see from our overheads, that is tight. See if I can get in closer on that because this is how close it is. Look at that. And I even from this angle, it's difficult to favor either player on this one. And while the umpire determines who is actually closest to the jack on this, and remember, someone is always closest on these, it's going to wedge that bowl into place so that it doesn't move during this measurement. Jerome Kirby needed a big shot on that final shot of the extra end in order to compete with Jim Aitken's bowl. And he may have done it here. We'll see. Both bowls are wedged. The umpire has the authority to make the determination. And now they will wedge the jack as well so it doesn't move. Meanwhile, some of the oohs and ahs that you're hearing throughout PIBC right now are from the other semifinal, where Pat Bird and Joanna Cooper are in their Battle of Alberta. And looks like Pat Bird has captured the sixth end of the second set. He was trailing 4-3 after 5, so Bird has appears to have won the sixth end, and we'll see how many he managed to pick up, whether he is tied with Joanna or has pulled ahead. Bird needs Pat Bird needs a win in order to force the extra end. And indeed, he has taken the lead in that semifinal. He is up 5-4 going into the final end of that second set. The umpire has pulled out the calipers here, and you know, he will very carefully measure this. It is this is a science and an art form. With much hanging on the line on this measurement. Now, our camera is not directly overhead these bowls, so there are angles involved. So may sometimes create the illusion of a bowl being closer. I think the umpire pointed at Jim Aitken's bowl there next to it, and we'll see what they put up on the scoreboard. And indeed, Jim Aitken has taken the first extra end of this semifinal. And that will put all of the pressure on Jerome in this second extra end as he must win it in order to survive this overtime. It's a shorter jack, as you can see, that they use for this end. Kirby with 2 bowls, counting so far. Aitken with his final bowl of this extra end. Kirby holding right now. He's coming in here and he's carried it through. And now Jerome Kirby has it all to play for right now. Absolute clutch shot from Aitken here in this extra end. Jerome doesn't walk the length just to get a closer look at it. He's seen enough about halfway down the rink. And he knows what he has to execute in order to force another extra end here. And he's going with takeout weight here. Running shot, and he misses it. And Jim Aitken will advance to the Pacific Coast Open, Bruce Matheson Open Singles Final with a big comeback win over Winnipeg's Jerome Kirby. And both of these players putting on absolute spectacular show here in this semifinal. Two great players going toe to toe. Aitken, who had some great draws, Jerome Kirby, who had a couple of just spectacular shots, especially in that first set where he completely dominated. But Jim Aitken, as he often does, just came back, kept winning ends, and in the end, he is going to be our Pacific Coast Open finalist. Before we sign off, just a quick look over to the other semifinal between Pat Bird and Joanna Cooper. They are in the seventh end. It is 5-4 for Pat Bird. Joanna Cooper won the first set, so if Bird can pull off a win, and I believe they are just a couple of shots away from being able to count the head. And it is indeed handshaking time over there. Pat Bird has shaken hands with the marker Tom Berridge and has also given Joanna Cooper a hug. But of course, they're colleagues and teammates in Calgary as well. It appears that Joanna Cooper may have carried the day there and will also advance to the final of the Pacific Coast Open. So we have a good one set up, and it's coming up in roughly half an hour where we will have the final of this thrilling Pacific Coast Open for 2025. So I hope you'll join us for it. We will have that for you shortly. You will need to log out of this YouTube broadcast and sign in to the one that we'll be setting up for the live stream, and that'll be made available very soon. So, want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Hope you'll all join us for the final of the Bruce Matheson Open Singles here at the Pacific Coast Open at PIBC. I'm Bill Curry. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon. A sec. Yeah, yeah, we can move the cameras. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know how much slack you'll have, but we'll see. Give me 1 second, and I'll help.